There's no excuse anymore. If you're at a dead-end job, it's time for a change. Get yourself a pair of whatever the hell those things are, and get to dancing. Like if you dig holes for a living, just film yourself humping your shovel handle while you're working. Post a 10-second clip of you doing that at every job site. Within a month, you'll be the shovel humper guy. Millions of views, fans across the world. Quit your job. You made it. This guy could be saving lives, you know. I'm sure there's somebody in his fan base out there that took the rope off of their neck after discovering him. I'm sure he'd even get votes in our next election knowing our country. You know, if this really is the end times, what better way to go out than with this guy dancing on top a mountain of our mistakes?
Hey, maybe these self-obsessed, egotistical TikTokers have a point. Why think when you could be a part of the consumerist machine? Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Radowski of WeAreChange.org. A lot of very important issues to get into in the news today, as of course we're going to be talking about our specialty, American foreign policy, especially with some of the latest very troubling announcements by China, and of course the new Biden administration, which some people are saying is acting very timid. Lots to get into in that front. But before we begin, can you see that I've been working out? And two, the intro video that we started off with is just a short clip from a full video from Joey B. Tunes. The link to his channel is down in our description below. Check him out if you want to. He does great work, highlighting how, of course, counterfeit and broke our mainline establishment curated algorithms' perceptions of reality really are. This, of course, perfectly highlighted by the latest GameStop scandal, which is proving that our financial markets are more rigged than previously thought for the majority of Americans, as even the Cash App just tweeted out moments ago that it is temporarily halting the purchases of stocks, which wasn't even their decision. All of this as there's a new slurry of disinformation and propaganda and upheaval by the establishment, shocked that average people played the market and actually for the first time in a long time made some money and the hedge funds didn't. Yeah, what a shocker. Something, of course, that deserves a wider conversation, but no. A lot of the conversation is centered around Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez claiming how police officers trying to locate her in order to protect her was traumatizing. No, I'm not kidding you. It's so much conversation, so much distractions around this personal story that absolutely has no effect on you, which is usually the modus operandi for the most of the U.S. mainstream media that likes to distract you with utter nonsense or just upright propaganda, like this article that literally talks about Michelle Obama getting some fresh veggies from the White House. Fresh veggies are good and all, but why the hell does this concern me? How much of an effect does this have on my life? Absolutely zero, and that's the type of nonsense that, of course, is aggregated, curated, of course, put on the top of the list for you to watch on social media. While independent media, like yourself, well, you know, demonetized and downranked in the algorithm. And that's why, to stay afloat, we started to work with companies that I personally like, that I personally use. One of them that I personally like and use is VPN City. If you're looking for an extra layer of privacy or security with your online experience, something that's very easy to use, that's at a fair price, also has a 30-day back money guarantee, check out VPN City. I like them. I think you will too. The link to them is in the description. Click on it right now to start your 14-day free trial right now. Now, when it comes to American foreign policy, obviously this is something that we've been focusing on and concentrating on this independent media channel since, of course, it's very important and a lot more important than all the trivial matters domestically here in the United States. Now, of course, that's changing with a lot of the latest news happening, but internationally, it's still very important to understand what's going on, especially when it comes to countries like China and Russia. And when it comes to Russia, we know that the establishment has been fear-mongering about them from the last 4 years, being the #1 villain, being the worst enemy. Usually, it was the same people that were also scared to criticize China, but let's be honest here, Joe Biden and and his administration are continuing with the larger degradation of relations between the United States and Russia, and the first phone call between Joe Biden and Vladimir Putin definitely represent that, as Joe Biden went off against Vladimir Putin for hacking, meddling, interfering, violating human rights, specifically going after a political activist and Putin opponent Navalny, who was just sentenced to 3.5 years in jail today. This would be as if Vladimir Putin was criticizing the United States for the treatment of Julian Assange. Now, even the Associated Press wrote an article saying that the first Putin-Biden call shows both cautious and big concerns when, of course, moving ahead in the future, since, of course, these rising tensions only liking the chance for more hostility. As even Russia's foreign minister said, relations have gone from bad to worse, and that there's nothing good coming from Joe Biden, calling his actions, quote, deeply hostile. And what did you expect from the party that was telling you that Russia hacked the elections in 2016 and got Donald Trump elected somehow? Of course, this is all to the chagrin of Jeff Bezos' newspaper, The Washington Post, that wrote an opinion piece about how Biden's start on Russia is, quote, starting on the right foot. I'm sorry, but being happy that two superworld powers are angry at each other more than ever before is a little sociopathic, especially with the news of major troop developments and movements that we are seeing reports of from the United States sending more forces and hardware into Syria, which of course is being matched with Russia doing the same in the same northeast territory of Syria. This, of course, is signaling that American foreign policy will continue where it did under the presidency of Barack Obama, which, of course, is a policy that makes the military-industrial complex very happy, since they're going to be making a lot of money off of the upcoming conflicts that are going to be happening. All the major people that Joe Biden picked to be a part of his administration, a part of his State Department, a part of his Defense Department, a part of the Pentagon, a lot of them are absolute war hawks and major lobbyists from, of course, the military-industrial complex. His Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for the Middle East literally was previously bragging about how the U.S. owns Syrian oil, which is just outright brazen theft, if anything here. And when you have government officials bragging about it now in power, what do you think the future is going to look like? Also, we're seeing also another repositioning of Iran with some latest mainstream media headlines about Iran being very close to finishing their nuclear program and how they could amass their materials for nukes within weeks. Lots of course, fear-mongering about that issue, and even the Israelis are publicly saying that Iran is still at least 2 years away from developing a nuclear weapon. Now, it was only the mainstream media that was kind of warning about this, and it does look like the Biden administration, at least for now, won't be as aggressive against Iran as U.S. President Donald Trump was. But with Syria in play and Iran in the back picture, there, of course, is the emerging empire that wants global hegemony, and that, of course, is China. Now, very interestingly, the United States did send its aircraft carrier and strike group into the disputed South Chinese Sea, as of course tensions between Taiwan and China have been rising to an extreme level. Now, China's presence on the world stage is definitely becoming more evident, as even the World Economic Forum was officially started with a keynote presentation from what Klaus Schwab called the excellency of Xi Jinping, the president of China, who, according to him, is doing incredible work. Yes, you can literally see the opening of the Davos, where Klaus Schwab was brown-nosing the Chinese president so much that I'm surprised he was still able to see through his glasses. All of this is, of course, the Chinese president called for global economic governance, called for more globalization, and signaled that, of course, he's on board with the Great Reset. Something, of course, that the Biden administration is also going to be implementing at a very fast pace. This, according to even John Kerry, who's a part of Biden's administration. And this could be one of the reasons why Axios wrote an article that is titled China's Strategies Bloom in Washington. And according to many analysts, China will definitely be getting their way, especially in a Joe Biden presidency. We even had major prominent Chinese professors from Beijing talk about how, quote, China has people at the top of America's core inner circle of power and influence, detailing the extensive tentacles of control and influence that China has on Wall Street and other important influential political figures that, of course, at the end of the day, benefits China greatly, while of course mostly screwing everyone over, everyone including you, the viewer, an average person living in the United States. And now with even all of this, China is becoming more headstrong, especially with territories like Hong Kong, where recently China slammed the United Kingdom for, quote, being brazen thieves, as the United Kingdom is allowing Hong Kong citizens and residents who don't want to live under China citizenship in their country, which is kind of ironic since China was, of course, supposed to officially allow Hong Kong to have its own system of government up until 2047. According to many political analysts, they have broken that promise many times over, and now they're mad at the United Kingdom for giving asylum to many Hong Kongers. And their stance towards the United States on this issue is even more aggressive, as recently a top Chinese diplomat came out and even warned the Biden administration at meddling in Hong Kong, even specifically setting their own red line. Yes, the Chinese official diplomatic representatives came out with their own red line on issues like Hong Kong and Xinjiang. Talk about brazen. Talk about aggressive. Something that, of course, if Russia would do, there would be an absolute freakout about in the mainstream media, but this is predominantly only getting coverage in the Wall Street Journal and the Daily Mail. This, of course, much tougher rhetoric than we saw under the presidency of Donald Trump, which now looks like China is becoming more emboldened more than ever before. All of this as we're learning that there are some reports coming from the White House that there is chaos inside of the Biden administration over whether to call what is happening in Myanmar right now a military coup or not. The reason that they're having trouble deciding this is allegedly over fears that this will, quote, anger China, and whether to even stop giving Myanmar money. Yes, the United States is allegedly, according to Politico and their sources, afraid to stop giving money to Myanmar and to call what they're doing a military takeover coup. And wow, if this is true, talk about a weak, little, pathetic presidency that, of course, is headstrong against Russia, but terrified to stop giving American taxpayer money to foreign countries because it might upset China. Wow, talk about pathetic. And while the Biden administration looks away and tries to not see what China is doing, meanwhile, they are setting their focuses, of course, on the American people, as all the intelligence agencies are working vigorously right now to go after the, quote, domestic terrorist threat, as even Joe Biden's Deputy State Department spokesperson came out before and called U.S. cops the, quote, largest threat to national security. She, of course, said this in a 2016 Facebook post, but this is the sentiment from a large number of Biden administration members who see the biggest threat to America being Americans themselves. And as they set their sights on, of course, the American people with new Patriot Act 2.0 national security laws, surveillance states, apparatuses, unaccountable intelligence agencies, China is having the United States and other countries in the world literally afraid to criticize what is happening in Myanmar. All of this as the Chinese military has been ramping up massive military drills and their positions in the South Chinese Sea as they brazenly conduct massive war drills simulating the invasion of Taiwan. All, of course, as soldiers are told to be prepared for war at all times. And out of 31 days in January, the Chinese military conducted a drill and entered Taiwanese airspace 30 days out of the 31 in January. Nearly the entire month, China was practicing, preparing, and drilling for war with Taiwan, which looks like they're very close towards getting without any objection, even from the United States. Taiwan, of course, is not the only site that China has, as of course it wants to be the world #1 hegemony. It's even setting its eyes on collecting DNA from Americans, since of course they understand that data is the new oil in a digital economy. The Chinese know this very well, and they are positioning themselves to be as successful as they are domineering. Originally, it was Henry Kissinger that destroyed manufacturing jobs here in the United States and sent them over to China, a part of a larger globalization plan, which of course benefited them. Globalist billionaires are literally responsible not only for the rise, but the continuation of China to where it is right now. Many people say the same globalist billionaires that propped up China and are supporting it right now are the same ones that are operating in the United States and are supported by people buying and purchasing those products. I think there's something to think about there. Vote with your dollar. It is more imperative than before. You as a single individual, your voice, your time, your just attention here, you liking, you commenting, you sharing this video essentially means the world, not just to me, but to the larger conscious information warfare that is happening right now on the face of this earth. Yeah, that's a mouthful. Sorry there, but we're living in an incredibly critically important time, and I thank you so much for participating. I thank you for getting these videos out there, because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here, and this is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.